University courses pejoratively described as Mickey Mouse degrees were the target of the UK Prime Minister this week. Will, in Manchester, gave me this response to the news.
I don't really like the characterisation of Mickey Mouse as degrees, and I think that could be seen as quite insulting. I don't have any strong views about it, but I'd just be very careful about brushing entire subjects under the same conclusion that it's a useless degree. I think it's a fair argument. There are some degrees that are more valuable in terms of the economy, particularly things like STEM subjects. But I'd like to live in a country where young people are able to pursue a passion, and if that's in a subject that has less economic value, doesn't mean it doesn't still have value. So I'm not overly happy with the characterisation of Mickey Mouse degrees, but I think there's a more delicate way you can put it, and perhaps a policy that's more delicate in terms of subsidising or supporting certain degrees that have more value in the economy, rather than just saying we're not going to be teaching or not going to be paying for certain courses anymore.
Yeah, I suppose the argument that was made by Mr. Sunak was that some of these degrees people are getting on and expecting perhaps a better job outlook from them, and then perhaps not getting that. Do you think there should be more done to ensure that these degrees that are perhaps more I guess that the way Mickey Mouse degrees, to me at least, what that means to me is the degrees that focus more on the soft skills than the sort of hard academic side of things. Do you think there's value in those sort of softer skills?
I think there's value still in having a degree, even if it's not vocational and doesn't lead to something. You can go and study history at university, and you don't have to become a history teacher. There's plenty of lawyers who've come from backgrounds in history and things like that. So there's a lot of soft skills that you can learn from degrees that might not necessarily lead to a particular profession. So I do think, though, universities have to be a bit more honest and realistic about the courses that they're advertising, though. I think certain degrees where universities can give unrealistic expectations towards their students, and when you're spending now so much money each year on tuition fees, universities shouldn't just look to try and get as many students in the door as possible, but be honest from the outset about employability at the end of that degree, and then it's up to the individual to make that as an informed decision.
Absolutely. So it was over 20 years ago now that former Prime Minister Tony Blair declared his top priority as being education in a very sort of famous speech. And in that time since then, there's been a big push to get more and more people into university. Is that something you support generally? Do you think more people should be going to university, or have we got the right amount now? Should less people? What's your sort of perspective on that?
I probably don't know enough on the subject to know whether we've actually got the right proportion of people going to universities. There's certainly a labour shortage at the moment in many industries at the moment. Some in things like hospitality and so on, where a degree might not be necessary. But there's labour shortages across a lot of different industries at the moment. So I really don't know enough to comment about whether there's the right proportion of people going to university or not. But I certainly would welcome it being more of an open discussion as a society about particular courses that have value for money, for example. And it's certainly worth a conversation about, is university for everyone? Is it actually needed? Are there lots of other routes into professions like apprenticeships, even for some very highly skilled jobs?
But you perhaps don't feel you have enough information to say whether that is true, whether university is for everyone, or whether these other routes are perhaps more applicable in these sort of key industries that we perhaps have the labour shortages in.
I don't like the idea of ruling out someone by saying university's not for you, because I like the idea of tertiary education being accessible to anyone who has a passion for a subject. So that's my reluctance to rule people out.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much for your time.
Brilliant.